Haileybury 1, brought to you by Bangladesh's #1 international school, Haileybury Bhaluka. At Haileybury 1, as we have mentioned in our episodes, we unfold the minds of visionaries and leaders. Today, in another most exciting episode, we are honored to have two distinguished guests with us to discuss a topic close to the heart of both strategists and economists, and that is competitive advantage of nations. First, let me once again introduce the most respected and knowledgeable Mr. Simon O'Grady, the founding headmaster of Haileybury Bhaluka, the first and only world top school in Bangladesh. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you.
Now, turning our attention to our second hugely respected guest, whose introduction is as simple as his path-breaking. From being a group captain in Bangladesh Air Force to a businessman who decided to enrich the Bangladesh skies by launching one of the most exciting private airlines, Novair. I want to give a grand welcome to Novair's dynamic founder, Mr. Mofizur Rahman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And once again, before we get into our discussion, a special thank you to Haileybury Bhaluka, Bangladesh's premier international boarding school, for the excellent strategic themes that are being brought to the close to 10 million subscriber of our channel. And firstly, we are going to discuss competitive leadership strategy. And Mr. Mofiz, my first question to you, from being a salaried individual, you took the plunge to not only start Novair, but in the 10 years of its existence, you have taken industry leadership in many areas. You were the first to introduce the frequent flyer program, and Novair has won the best on-time performance award this year after year. Novair has been rated the best domestic airline, and my question is the customer influenced more by the pricing of the air ticket or more by these excellent standards? Also, if you were to look back in all these years, what would you consider the topmost innovative strategy Novair has used?
Thank you for the question. First of all, our vision was always customer-centric. The pricing, yes, to the extent it attracts passenger, but I would not say the customer-centric, our vision was customer-centric. Because when we launched the airline, actually we did see the gaps, particularly in the domestic aviation. There were huge deficiencies in terms of safety, in terms of passenger comfort, in terms of passenger service and satisfaction together. Yeah. So our theme was to provide a passenger-centric, satisfactory and safe service air journey, which was tremendously lacking in our industry in Bangladesh. And that propelled us to have an airline with a different vision, of course, that would be excelling in all the parameters, so that at least in regional perspective, we are known by a brand Novair.
Thank you. And now Simon, Haileybury Bhaluka is the #1 international school in Bangladesh. Not only is Haileybury UK in the world's top 2% in academic results, but all of Haileybury Bhaluka teachers are Harvard certified. Your 85-acre Bhaluka campus is also considered Asia's finest, with the nation's first smart classroom also. How do all these outstanding achievements have Haileybury Bhaluka in beating the competition? And also, what is the one most unique thing about Haileybury that you would want Bangladesh's parents to know?
Well, we beat the drum for education, and we are doing things that no other school has done. We want more schools like us. We want more schools in our image. But we thrive on competition. And indeed, competition helps us improve. It helps us improve the way we do things and indeed what we achieve. And whilst we support, more inward investment in outstanding schools coming to Bangladesh, our current competition lies beyond these shores. But we're also here to raise the standard of education more widely. So we've established Be Safe on safeguarding. We've created a $15 million scholarship fund. And indeed, we're investing in the professional development of teachers in 10 local schools. So using Michael Porter's model we can see how Haileybury is supporting those factor conditions. And in doing so, we are building a world-class team of teachers, great teachers who are going to stay at Haileybury Bhaluka and make that difference. Haileybury changes the game for the school, for the sector, and indeed for the country. In terms of your next question, which is more demanding, because you're asking me to focus on one unique thing.
Most unique thing, yeah.
Well, we give bright students the brightest futures. And I know that, as a learner, I know that as an educator, and I know that as a father. And indeed, as a founding father of the school, I want to make sure that we give our students, our boys in Bangladesh, the best possible education, fulfilling lives, and fantastic futures. That's the unique thing.
And that's a unique thing you want to know your parents, Bangladesh's parents, Simon.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And now we are going to discuss competing advantage of Bangladesh. And Simon and Mr. Mofiz, as you both already know, the concept of competitive advantage of nations is closely associated with Harvard's Michael Porter. In this book, The Competitive Advantages of Nations, published in 1990, Porter introduced the idea that a nation cannot suddenly become economically strong. He said that the economic strength of a nation has to be built in a planned manner. Mr. Mofiz, you are Secretary General of the Aviation Operator Association of Bangladesh. So my question is, how important would you say is the private airline sector to make the Bangladesh economy strong?
Particularly from my airline perspective, as well as from the position of the Secretary General of the platform of Aviation Operators Association of Bangladesh, what I see is that the aviation is not only in Bangladesh, everywhere in the world. It plays an enormous role and it contributes to the economy. So if you just look back, during the COVID time, a street corner Pizza Hut was not supported by the US government.
Yeah.
But all the major airline payroll support was provided by the state. Why? Because when is the time of recovery, that airline is going to contribute. Now, for doing business, for international connectivity and domestic connectivity, if there is not there, this air connectivity, the most safe means of transport, you cannot achieve the goal of economic self-sufficiency. Yes, the economy is built bit by bit, but you need this component, the aviation connectivity, airline connectivity, for making the economy stronger. If we look today, Singapore or Dubai, they're one of the biggest air hubs, and that's driving the economy of the country. So it is so important, and everybody needs to understand the importance of aviation, airline connectivity.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mofiz, and that was very insightful. Simon, coming to you. As per UNICEF figures, every year about 50,000 Bangladeshi students go abroad to pursue further studies, and this result is approximately 15 billion US dollar going out of the country every year. Would institutions like Haileybury Bhaluka help in stopping this flow and at the same time bring world-class global education to the common man's doorstep?
Well, absolutely. I mean, an outflow of foreign exchange affects every person in this country. Prices go up, investment stalls, growth and jobs go down, and indeed life becomes harder. So sustainable solutions made in Bangladesh stops this vicious circle. Haileybury Bhaluka is a future-focused school, and it gives our students the skills that they will need for future careers and employment, gives them access to the best opportunities in education, and certainly the first-class universities worldwide. And it also gives them that cultural heritage to come back and to be leaders of tomorrow. To your second question, in terms of focusing on our commitment to
World-class global education.
world-class global education for all, and particular focus of our belief in, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So we have built, as is increasingly known now in country, a $15 million scholarship scheme. And we've done that to make sure that outstanding education is on the doorstep of all bright students, irrespective of background. And that is a real impactful solution that stops the Forex leaving the country, and it makes the seeds of growth for the supply side, grow in Bangladesh.
Simon, thank you for the response. And given your response, would you say that collaboration with competitors is more important for the Bangladesh education sector?
I think at the macro level, education skills up the supply side. And to achieve a smart Bangladesh, we need smart people. And education helps fulfill that ambition. So on the one hand, collaboration of certain sorts can be anti-competitive, such as collusion on school fees. However, on the other hand, if it's framed in the right way, collaboration builds infant industries like outstanding educational institutions, and that's really important for the country. We need an ambitious vision for education that has, cross-political support. We need that coalition of support that gives that ambitious vision for education. Haileybury Bhaluka believes in the right kind of collaboration. And that's the collaboration that will raise standards for all. And that's for all schools, for all parents, and indeed for all students. And indeed, in doing so, to transform our education landscape.
Okay. Thank you, Simon. And Mr. Mofis, throwing the question to you, is collaboration between competitors the answer to improving the domestic airline sector? Would collaboration even work, given that the market leader Biman works in its own space?
Thank you. It's a very important dimension of aviation of Bangladesh that you have brought in. Well, in a business there will be competition, for sure, but sometimes competition could be constructive and sometimes it could be destructive. In a sense, usually what happens in airline business here or elsewhere, that people goes for a very bottom price just to get the market share. But in the bargain, all airline loses. But when is the constructive competition, the ultimate end, the passengers are benefited, they get better service with a competitive price. And collaboration between the airlines, it is always a win-win situation. It is never a losing concern. So I think the airlines to collaborate for a better service and getting the higher standard of service. Well, in particular, when we talk about Biman, that's the national carrier, and it is run by the public money, and mostly subsidized by the public money, which is not a good thing to do. We don't have the luxury in a country like Bangladesh to subsidize with the people's money for well of people's travel. Here, what we have seen in the past, when we could have a collaborative term with Biman, we both were benefited, passengers were benefited. But when we have seen that we could not be in the collaborative term, it was a losing situation for both. So, from the point of my position as the Secretary General of AOAB, I always try to make that bridge between Biman and the private operators so that we can develop a healthy aviation sector in Bangladesh.
Yeah. And thank you, Mr. Mofis, and thank you, Simon. And dear viewers, don't go anywhere. There's more to discuss, and we'll come back after the short break. Stay with us. Once again, welcome to Haileybury 1, and now we're going to discuss to the regulatory mirror. And Mr. Mofis and Simon, in this section, I would want you to put yourself in the shoes of the regulator and look at your respective industries from the outside. For example, Simon, if you were the regulating body of school education and if you were to look at the industry's page of international schools in Bangladesh, what would be the top change you would recommend international schools or even Haileybury Bhaluka to make?
I think we can place this within Porter's frame for the competitors' advantage of nations. And that's for education to upgrade and improve, or indeed to innovate and update. So the three things that a regulator needs to have a watchful and active eye over: first of all, safeguarding. We need to make sure that all education contexts are safe for children in this country to the level of the best internationally. Secondly, scholarships. We need to ensure that the private schools in this country are incentivized to offer children scholarships to be educated in first-rate institutions in order to support our wider ambition of inclusion and indeed greater social mobility. And thirdly, standards. All schools, but particularly all private English medium schools in Bangladesh, they need to be subject to common inspection frameworks so that we can truly see their quality and indeed we can truly incentivize them to improve to the level of the best. They do this in the UAE, and they've, over a short period of time, they've achieved fantastic results in terms of some of the best quality education in the world. And indeed, very much like Novo Air, Haileybury is part of that change, and Haileybury is boarding now.
Okay. And thank you, Simon. And Mr. Mofis, the same question to you. If you were the aviation regulator and if you were to recommend one top change that the private airlines in Bangladesh should undertake, including Novo Air, what would it be?
Thank you. It's a very important question. The aviation is the most regulated business throughout the world, and Bangladesh is no exception. And putting myself on the shoes of the regulator, there are monumental tasks I see. There's not a single one, rather monumental tasks that I see that as a regulator we should have changed. I'll not go into detail, just I would look our neighboring country India, that over a period of last 6 to 7 years, there has been a phenomenal change in terms of regulation. It is so business friendly, supportive, and equally looking after the safety aspect the business of the regulator needs to do. I think we should have, or I should work the same way the way India did in the regulatory aspect, if I see myself in the regulator's chair. And it is not only the regulator's responsibility, but the airline responsibilities too, that one of the fundamental thing that underpins one of the most worrying subject the passenger face is the safety, that is my airplane safe. So it is not only the micro level, it is in the macro level also that we need to address all those worries, the barriers in terms of regulation that hinders our growth. We need to remove those barriers one by one. It is certainly not business friendly, and very unfortunately in our country, it's not only regulator, other associated bodies, they find airlines something of a different entity. They have plenty of money and they can spend, which is not true. And sometimes it is regulator should not do a business. In Bangladesh it does. I would have separated from regulator side the business altogether different. Regulator should be putting on only hat that regulator should put in.
Okay, Mr. Mofis, it was really insightful. And Mr. Mofis and Simon, thank you both for taking us through this wonderful episode where I learned, and also our viewers also, so much about the importance of both your sectors, education and airlines, for the Bangladesh economy. Thanks also to the close to 10 million subscribers of our YouTube channel who have been writing back to us with a lot of feedback. I would want to all of you viewers to remember Haileybury 1 is brought to you by Bangladesh's #1 international school, Haileybury Bhaluka. Upcoming episodes have many more great thought leaders, including the Microsoft Managing Director, Country Head of Japan External Trade Organization, Chairman of Bangladesh Investment Development Authority, and many more. Don't miss the next episode on Friday. Till then, keep thinking strategically. Goodbye and have a great weekend.